pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Begin with roll call. Leroy Hiskey. Present. Jason Keenan. Present. Lisa Moore. Here. Carol Howard. Here. And Amy Hirsch and Dan Kimball are both excused this evening. Amy's got a family situation and Dan had some holding away for work. With that, everybody got the agenda emailed out to them, and there was extra copy in your folders as well for anything, any additions, changes, or review on the agenda. Not on chair, but here, the motion to approve the agenda. I'll second it. Is there support?
I second it.
Oh, you second, no, I need something.
Oh, I thought you did move it, I'm sorry.
No, I
Okay.
was asking.
Okay, I'll make a motion.
Okay, all right.
What we did?
Jason moved it, you seconded.
I'm sorry about that.
All right, no problem. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, nay. Motion carries, the agenda's been approved as printed. Next thing we have then is the minutes from January 5th, 2026 meeting. And those got emailed out, and we also copy of those changes, corrections that you saw from that.
I make a motion to accept the minutes as presented.
I'll second that.
And it's been properly moved and supported. Is there any discussion?
Who was the one that wrote the?
Teresa did.
Yeah, all those in favor, signify by saying aye. Aye. Opposed, nay. Motion carried. Minutes for January 5th, 2026. Been approved and printed. Next, we then have our first citizen time. So if anyone would like to visit with us for the first citizen time.
I'd like to wait until the second one after the discussion.
All right, seeing none, we're going to move into new business, and we have a new recording secretary for the planning commission that's being properly introduced in the election, and we should welcome you.
Hi.
Learned by prior last month.
That's all right. My name's Teresa Drulard.
How long have you lived in the township? Or?
Actually, I don't live in the township. I live in Raisinville Township, but I've been a part of London Township for over 10 years. Drouillard.
Okay, well, welcome, thank you. And
Thank you.
Got to see firsthand what your work is.
Thank you.
And she does work with the township also.
No.
She's my
Yes, sir.
deputy.
Yep,
All right,
yep,
keeping the numbers straight.
yeah.
Right, then next we have update from the board trustee, I think it's something we're gonna make, part of the meeting.
I mean, I don't know if this is gonna be every single meeting, but I guess for now, I don't have an issue with it, because normally when we finish here, it just goes to the board and it should not be coming back, so I shouldn't have to feel like always relay messages back, but right now, with the data centers and, you know, whatever else, I don't have an issue right now, because there's gonna be probably a lot of bouncing back and forth, I would assume. So what I have is we put a 6-month moratorium on data centers for now, just a simple pause to kind of catch up on things, to try to get an ordinance hopefully in place. Yeah, so what I asked the board, and the reason why it's probably not on here, is I want them to give us a little bit of direction right out the get-go, so it doesn't happen like the solar where it drags on, but it's on. They can at least give us, because, I mean, we might have our own ideas, but if they're not on the same page with the basics, the foundation of where we're gonna start, I think that's, you know, we might as well start with that. So the plan is for them to kind of give us a handful of basic things, you know, like setbacks, what zone, you know, if it's commercial, industrial, whatever, just a handful of things. Let it come here, we use other ordinances, use their baseline, and kind of create an ordinance. Hopefully to speed it up, because I think that we learned our lesson from the solar that, you know, it's tough trying to get, you know, us 7 and those 5 on board all having the same ideas, you know, so I just think that's a good way to get started.
But the first thing we have to do is we need to have a public hearing that published in order for us to properly discuss and work on the ordinance. And I know there's a draft already been worked up. It's get going, it's based off the solar, which is quite overreaching as it was. So it gives you the framework, and more importantly, that gives whoever the next zoning administrator is, that you have things that seem to be the same, makes it easier to be only confused, because more that makes the attorneys have so much fun when you have ordinances that are just all over the place. You can't understand them.
Exactly.
So that part of that has been done. And
But I mean,
Penny's got.
yeah, we haven't approved anything.
No.
Or not everybody's even been on board, so I'm not gonna say yes or no to that.
Well,
Yes.
the first thing we have to do then is we need to schedule a public hearing and we'll talk about that in detail.
Exactly, yep, so that's pretty much it on the data centers, is a 6-month moratorium. I think probably next week we'll probably talk about it a little bit more. You guys are more than welcome to come to that. I assume that's gonna be with the framework that started. And then it probably, I would assume, start back at the plan commission at our next meeting, I would assume. I mean, I'm not 100% on that, but that's what I would suggest.
So I've been in touch with Penny, where I'm at, and, like I said, I had given, the form for even the public notice or the draft, so all those, that rough foundation is there and it's gonna be finished. I did reach out to her last week, because there was a 10-minute YouTube video about how Celine got sued and the other one didn't, because of, there was industrial in the thing, and it was on the master thing, which we have, we have zero industrial, so hopefully she passed that on.
Yeah, well, they also listed that the judge passed it to be an agricultural, also, we have some of that, so I'm sure the nation switched it back, but it's still moving forward, so. But yeah,
Trying
you
to
are right.
protect the township,
That
that's all.
is correct, so I did read about that also, looked into that. So yeah, no, and you're more than welcome to come next week and explain to the board. Yeah, so the next, we did approve the haul route finally, that's been approved, finalized, haul route ordinance. We also talked about skipping meetings. They had a lot of issues with, us missing a lot of meetings, skipping meetings, so, I know that I really don't have any say with that, but I guess as a chair, maybe a co-chair, maybe with Mike, maybe try to talk to the board and just make sure that they don't have anything pressing. I know they did mention something about the master plan. I don't feel like we should have meetings just because of that, but, I mean, if that's what they wanna do, I think that should always be tied in with something else. I don't think, I mean, something that's not pressing, I mean, that's just the way I look at it. I don't think that it's been too big of a deal, but yeah, either way.
Well, with master plan, we do every 5 years, 10 years. We just did the master plan, and we did that.
Yeah, we did.
About 2 years ago. So we're master plan, we don't need to.
Took care of that.
They also mentioned that there's a lot of mistakes in there from some of the other wording, I guess. Not necessarily us to redo it, but just some of the technical wording, I guess. But to me, I don't feel like we should have, I mean, if there's nothing else on the agenda, I personally don't think that we should, but, I mean, at least talk to the, maybe talk to Penny and some of the board members and just see if they're fine with us skipping the meeting a little bit, maybe. And see if we can, bulk a few things together. I just don't feel like that was something that would be a reason, but that was something that they mentioned, so I just wanted to let you guys be aware of it.
That, when I worked out last winter, was just an addendum to the current master plan.
Yeah.
Because all of it is take, information that we had received from, SEMCOG and all that kind of stuff. The wording is almost identical to what's in the previous ordinance, their master plan, so if it's wrong there too, I think.
I think more what I think what they were talking more about was in certain areas of the master plan, how it refers to other townships, by mistake. I believe you guys mentioned it a handful of times. I think is that what you guys were referring to? Because we have updated the master plan about, like you said, about 2 years
It was
ago.
the book
You
that
guys mentioned
Doug
it.
is referring to.
It's not master plan, it's ordinance.
It's the ordinance book.
You've got 2 different versions.
Okay, well, sorry, I missed
It's
that.
the
Yep.
I had
ordinance
that
book
wrong.
that there's mistakes. Leroy's got a grocery list, I've got a grocery list, that was part of what we talked about at last month's meeting in detail, what we needed to address that's what we need to do, not master.
Okay, I apologize, that was my mistake, that's what they were referring to, but they were saying instead of skipping meetings that we could throw that on, you know, so.
Just
Oh,
direct me
I
back.
think master plans, we need to update the SIMCOG and all of that information that Leroy
We
had
just
done.
did it 2 years ago. It's done.
Right, when I was on
Yeah,
the
yeah.
planning
we-
commission,
we got
yes.
it. But I know for like the meetings that we had canceled, it's because there was nothing on the agenda pressing. Mike didn't have anything he was bringing forward. He talked to Dan and he and them that they discussed it. There wasn't a basis for it coming forward.
Well, I guess what I was getting at is maybe just go ahead and also attach Benny and whoever else may want to be in that email before it's been officially canceled, just to make
Penny's
sure.
been on.
Yeah, I'm just saying, I'm just relaying the message. That's what we
Yeah,
put
he's
on
just
here,
the messenger.
relay the message, that's what I'm doing. I apologize, I did make a mistake on the master plan, I guess. We're talking about the ordinance.
Is that master plan online?
Yes.
No,
It should be, right? It's on the ordinance?
No, it's all out of order. It needs to be
Yes.
all.
No, he was asking if if the ordinance is on the website.
No, the master plan,
The master-
master plan.
Yeah, I'm getting everything. I'm back today.
Take notes.
It's because you're in the wrong seat.
Yeah, that's it. I'm backwards on everything.
I see the zoning map is 2006, which is.
No, the map hasn't changed. The zoning map hasn't changed. There's been no real changes other than that. Both there and one go from Ag 1 to Ag 2.
Correct.
there is minor changes, but they're documented where the township board has made the changes. And I'll discuss that later in the meeting, so if you want to hold on to that, got some other discussion about that.
Anything else here?
Nope, I think that's it.
Okay. All right. The next item that we have is the annual report to the board from the planning commission. Everybody got a copy of this last month. Actually got it back in December, and then it wasn't on the agenda. And I don't know if everybody's got a copy of it, if there's any questions. The main thing was that we talked about all the stuff that the planning commission did last year during the calendar year 25, and that we met with the driveway for their schedule plan, Cooper's annual review, which was a no-show, legal counsel, then the new owners of the driveway, Wilson Extraction did an operational courtesy visit. There was no action needed there. Then the driveway then had the hearing for the berm removal and extraction permit. Oakey Road was accepted for the updating the watering permit by people. Then as way for ordinance review during 25 planning commission did the haul route amendment to the extraction and pond ordinances, and it was sent to the board. Discussion on shipping containers, and then the approval of that ordinance, and then correction of a portion of the variance language in the zoning ordinance, and primary use structure discussions. And then looking ahead, we talked about for 26, that's that support and cargo ordinance. That shouldn't be on, that should be deleted off that report, because that was not looking ahead, that's done. But then it was about the member of the planning commission. So if there's any additions or corrections you want to put on that.
That continuing work on the cargo ordinance, I don't think it's really directed to us because Penny said that they didn't have a clean copy
Yeah.
to publish. And so I think that has to go to Mike.
No, I wrote the clean copy back.
Yeah.
in December.
Correct. The board needs is for the actual numbers. We want to make sure what the numbers are. I talked to Leroy today about it. We'll have the numbers. It'll be in the paper. I'll come back I'll do that on Monday. As soon as we're done with the meeting, I'll send it to be published.
Because I wrote the haul permit for the pond, and did the clean version for the extraction one, and then I did the clean version for the cargo.
Correct. It was just the heading is all that we needed, ordinance numbers and the dates.
All right, so is there any additions or corrections you want to add to the annual meeting report to the board? For them to put on file as required by law? If not, the chair would entertain a motion to approve.
I so move.
Okay. Is there support?
I'll second that.
Point cross, we'll go with Jason. Any further discussion? All those in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. opposed nay, motion carried. Report's been approved, so then that way it can go to the board as a whole. Then, discussion of possible amendments to the zoning ordinance, and that goes back to what Leroy and I were talking about for, what you alluded to, Daryl, is in this book that there was some mistakes, and I was referenced when we were going through the work and finding things and questioning where they came up with some of these things, and they wouldn't tell us or couldn't tell us. And then you discovered part of it was, West Bloomfield, which is Oakland County, and a few other things, because, that was quite the damage with McKenna. Leroy, you've got a great grocery list of items that we found. I've got a few of them that, on a different note, that, like the homestead exemption from 1956, where it was not in that book, and that's caused some heartburn for some folks.
What I put together was, when we talked at the last planning commission meeting, we talked about going through the ordinances. And if you're gonna go through the ordinances, you better know which ordinances are current. And I was not comfortable with the information I had. So what, basically the first 3 pages of the document you have in your folder is pretty accurate. When you get after, well, one interesting thing at the bottom of page 3, London Township's had a haul route ordinance since 2018. I mean, I don't think it's been interesting to have all the discussion we've had for the last, 5 years about haul routes, and basically there was one. So I documented that, so it's part of the process. The rest of these are, basically, on the 4th page, the effective date is not necessarily correct. The way I kept track of it is this is the date, date of the board meeting that the board approved it. Doesn't mean that that's, it takes a while to publish and then 30 days after published. So that part is going to have to be updated to make everything correct.
So when we create an ordinance, we write that date on there.
No, it's, the dates that, the date of creation could be anything.
Okay.
It's the effective.
It has nothing to do with that. It's when it's finalized.
Okay.
One of the problems is this process hasn't been done correctly for the last 4 or 5 years or 6 years. Passing stuff off to the township board, they've been passing it back and say it's approved. And there's been no publication of it, so effectively it's not been approved. And so this is what we have to straighten out. Some of it's been published. I don't necessarily know the 30 days after the publication. I've got some publications, but that's what we'll be working on, I think, is to straighten out page 4 of the document.
It's gonna get published, you're gonna have those, because often now by state code, that it's not, doesn't go into effect until like 30 days after the publication.
Right.
And
Is there
so,
a way for you guys to, can we
Well,
get the information of when all these were published, so that we can update
you're
this?
a board member, the board has it, it's all in the clerk's files.
Yes.
You guys have got it.
But, I mean, then we can, like, as we go through these, is what I'm getting at, we can correct the effective date if we have that,
Yep, I will be working with that. You don't have to worry about it.
Okay.
That's not a problem.
The more people get involved, the more.
Oh, yeah, no, I'm not saying I want to get involved, I'm just making sure we had the information, I guess, in other
No,
words.
there's no guarantee we do, but, I'll try to work through it. Penny's gonna look for some stuff for me. I have four items that I don't have information for, but still I don't have dates on those too.
And the clerks also.
Right.
Okay.
Well, what was interesting, the last line before my signature on here, at the December 8th meeting, as a subnote, they approved Article 12. I don't know.
No, that was.
Well, let me finish.
Okay.
Okay. But Doug, didn't we make a major change, well, I shouldn't say a major change to Article 12 about a year or so back?
Not that, we did a review of Article 12.
No, there was something we
About
changed.
10 years ago, 8 years ago.
No, wasn't that long ago? Something went through, I don't know whether it's Article 12 or something else. I don't know what exactly it was. I don't have a copy of it, so.
I do know that it's went to the board a few different times and it's been rejected.
But if you look at the bottom, that says 2009 or something like that on the Article 12.
Which that's, I mean, I don't know, I just know in December it was voted on and it was, it did not go through, it did not pass.
But according to the document minutes, it did.
Well, minutes are gone.
Well, part of it said it didn't, and then following that, it said it did, so.
Well,
I want to check your minutes. That's all I
Did
gotta
not.
say.
That's the best way to find yourself tossed in a court case.
Right,
but
It did not.
understand, but
Just
something has to be
corrected.
straightened out. I was confused. If I'm confused, somebody can have the ball.
Oh, yeah.
Okay?
No, I mean, it's good for you to catch that though.
Yeah, but, so, well, I just thought we had changed something. I forget what it was and what part of it. But I never, that was kind of handled at the planning commission meeting and I know Doug worked on it and it was within the last 2 years at the most, I think. So, but I couldn't find anything in our PC minutes that was anything like that.
I don't recall.
I'll go check my files.
I could not be part of Article 12. I don't know, this is something was changed.
Or
Seems like
something.
when Gary was in, it seemed like you guys talked about it, and I guess, I forget what year that was, about 7 years ago.
Yeah, it was back like 2012, 6 or 16, somewhere there, 14, 15, 16, something, somewhere in there. I think that's a discussion on it. And that a couple of the changes were pretty extreme and the board and planning commission wasn't too comfortable with. Nor was the attorney for the type of changes that they were looking at. So it basically stayed status quo is what it had been. And so I'm gonna have to look back. I remember something coming up that there was questions about it. I had to understand. I didn't think it did. I'm gonna have to look at my.
The last 5 items on that page is things I'm working on trying to get better information. And I might have to go back through and update page 4 to show the effective dates on it. Go from there. So,
Slides.
I don't think you'll find it in the book. I do forget things. I mean,
So I'll keep working on this as I also working.
Matt, you want to take out the notes from the corrections from the County Association? Did you bring that up a couple of years ago? I got it.
I got that in a different document.
Right.
Okay.
That's one that we'll probably want to pickle sometime later on this year.
But when you really start getting into formally changing anything, that kind of information. So,
But because so many of them were actually just word corrections, that we can actually just have a public hearing, state all the minor corrections and do it all at once, and then take a whole lot of updating.
But you can actually create one amendment and add all those corrections. So this bad thing is, 2007 was the original document. It's about time to figure out a way to combine it all in one, to make all those changes.
yeah, update it all at once since we're already looking at it, just go ahead and update it so you don't have to do it.
But if you want a physical copy, somebody has to go through that next.
But what, it's 10 years, right?
No, not for, that's from that, we're on our ordinance book. So we tried to go through, and we looked back by the 07, we went page by page on this entire document. The problem was they changed what, 3 different people. I think we're hoping that's the word. I think we were trained, that's why we changed. I didn't know what the hell you were talking about. Anyway, about the time we finished up, we had the planning commission members, who remember what we talked about 3 years earlier. And it was like start over, finally got to the point where we pushed it, this is what it was.
crazy.
I mean, we do have to still update each ordinance every, what, 3, 4
No, you don't have to update ordinance. You're confusing master plan with 5 years of ordinance. So once you've got an ordinance in place, that can stay.
Okay.
Well, there's no
I thought we still had to look at.
Go in there and
Okay.
tweak that.
I thought it was updated.
Do it right. You don't need to break it.
And the master plan is you don't have to change anything every 5 years, but you have to look at it.
Review it, yeah.
Because if you look at the township, look at the map, how much of the township has really changed compared to the map. So that's what I'll keep on working on. Unless that happens, that's what we're worried about that whole time comes.
Right, so then we'll move on to old business, and that's where we can bring up what we talked about, that Bill brought up about the 6-month moratorium on data centers, and that to do the process correctly for going through and bringing the ordinance to the board, we have to have a public hearing, it has to be published, so we need to get that on the schedule, and we've got to have it, the publication, we have to done 15 days. Just make it 18 days so we don't find ourselves snagged again. It just, as soon as it gets approved by the board, next week, publish it. And whatever the date is, we gotta get it. And so then that way we can have a public hearing, then we can properly begin to discuss an ordinance for putting an ordinance in place.
Can we also just, each step that you do, can you just verify with the attorney just to make sure that, because this is something that could easily, one simple little thing, like even Celine did, one simple mistake, and it costs them big time.
We already are. We're in contact with the
And I
attorney.
just mean each thing, like as soon as we publish it, send it over to her.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? So then something, the ball gets dropped, whatever, then hopefully she'll at least catch something.
Yep.
I mean, I wouldn't say this all the time, but with this particular subject, I can foresee it being, a big headache down the road. Because we do have main transmission lines running right through our township.
Yep.
Right through the middle of it, pretty much.
We've already been in contact back and forth, so she's on board already.
But I just wanted to make sure we didn't just lose track of things.
No, we're not at all.
Our next township planning commission meeting is March 2nd.
I don't think we have 18 days to be able to do all that.
So because the public, it's not the public, so then we want to look at sometime in the middle of March, so we have to have a special hearing for that.
That would be better.
We have a special meeting.
We put a public hearing specifically for data centers and blue sky, and CBC pop ordinances.
We do it on the third one.
Okay, you're looking at March 16th.
And I'll give plenty of time for publication.
March 16th, you said? That'd be the third Monday at 7:30.
What time? 7:30?
7:30, keep it the same time as our normal planning commission meeting, but it's a company that does choose to vote. Does that work with you? Right, so, yeah, we can still have a meeting on March 2nd. We can start on some of those other things. we have in place now. All right, is there a motion to have schedule a public hearing for data center ordinance? Is there support?
I'll say.
Any further discussion? Any other further discussion? Not, we'll proceed to vote. All those in favor of having March 16th, the third Monday at 7:30, a hearing for data center, for the need of an ordinance. All those in favor, signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, nay. Motion carries. All right. We have no other issues on new or old businesses. We're at second citizens
name is Mary Hannah. I live over on Henry Road. I just need a little clarification on this public hearing. That's gonna be on March 16th, and it seems like you can't even begin to start an ordinance without the
The
public hearing. Is that
proper
correct?
procedure that, because we've had some things in the past where it used to always be that we had the public hearings at the end, after we worked it all up, we put it out so everybody could look at it and say, hey, this is good, this is bad, we can then take it back and do some tweaking on it then. Apparently something got changed in Lansing's a handful of years ago, and the way that we've been doing it, Leroy and I, for the last 20-some years, or 30-some years of township government, that got changed, so there was a couple ordinances that we actually had to go back, redo a hearing, and start the process over completely again, and then go through the whole process. And just,
But honestly, it's probably a little better, because then we can take your guys' input, also take the board's input, and we kind of combine everything together, and then send it to the board for final approval. So, I think it's actually probably a little better. I think it saves time, because we would do all this work, get all the way to the end, and have a public hearing, and then have to go back and rechange some things. We're hoping right now we kind of can get the stuff corrected with you guys ahead of time, then work together. You guys still can come to the meetings and work that way too.
So you're working on the ordinance, not waiting until the public hearing, right?
Public hearing is going to be your guys' input, and then we're going to create the ordinance. But you still can come here for citizens now. But, you know, I mean, so we're taking the public hearing, and then we're going to start the ordinance right after that. I believe, correct? Yeah.
So what are we doing in that month and a half, is my question?
We can't do anything.
Yep. Legally, because there is a process that is set by the state, and that's what we gotta follow. If we don't follow that, then, you know, if we were to discuss it, or, you know, that we can work on or read up different ordinances and that for putting things together, but we can't formally vote on it or talk about it per se until after we have the public hearing.
And just because we have a 6-month moratorium doesn't mean if for some reason we still haven't quite got everything finalized, that can't get pushed back. I mean, that's not what we're trying to do by no means, but, so, we're not trying to rush anything. They're, you know, pushing things back, trying to make sure that everything is done.
That's important, because, you know, at that, we talked about this in January, we're talking 2.5 months before we even start doing anything, right?
That's the way government operates.
I get it, but
We used
Better
to,
than
That's
rushing
what
to
go
it.
to Lansing.
I've been there.
we used to be able to do that. We could have been working on it for the last 2 months.
Yep.
But according to the state, you haven't asked us to do it, and that's the problem. Even though you stand out there with how many people at the last meeting and say, will you please?
So the public notice for the public hearing should be out by the 2nd or 1st of March, is that correct?
Well,
15
that'll be out
days.
Sometime in February.
Okay,
We're
so,
trying to make sure it gives it plenty of time.
so at least 15 days. is
Yes,
what you're
It's gonna be well over that,
talking
isn't it? It's gonna be.
We had hearings that were scheduled, and because
Yeah.
somebody dropped the ball, didn't get it published, and we got here and found out they didn't get printed till 13 days before the meeting, so we had to cancel the public hearing, republish, reset another meeting, so you gotta go through by the rules.
I've watched it over the last couple of years in the back.
So where will that be published?
Monroe.
Monroe Evening News.
Monroe Evening News?
Mhm.
And there'll probably also be notice on your website.
Oh, yes, definitely.
Okay. Let's see. Well, I guess instead of talking about the data center, because, I'll find out next week if Dundee Township, however, will allow me to be on that special committee, because I live in London Township. I might not be officially on that committee, but, in the meantime, with this extra month and a half we have now, before we can have the public hearing for London Township, can we develop our suggestions on an ordinance?
You can write up your suggestion, that, because, like I said, I took on for what we have with the solar, because that thing was 12 pages. It was in my computer. I was the one that kept taking the notes and updating it. So what we did was basically look at what we've got there. They had some very, not intrusive, but an extreme amount of information that they had to provide in order to do solar, because you cannot ban any use in your community. You will automatically lose in court in a snap if you try to like ban something like that. So basically what we do is we look at, we want continuity because let's say let's say they don't do a data center or they don't look at one location in Dundee. Everybody's looking all over the state. It's whoever gets it approved first because it's going to be a race to whoever, Google or Meta or whoever's going to be contracted with them because we do need them. But until they get to that point, that when that happens, it might be 5 years or 10 years they're back here looking in London Township or looking in Dundee. You want to have an ordinance that whoever the next township supervisor or clerk or ordinance enforcer, that those folks can read it and you got continuity. So that was one of the things fashioned and offered in the solar because it had a lot of requirements in order for them to operate here. And it was specific to industrial and commercial sites, which if you've already looked at that 2006 map, we got about 3 acres of commercial, that's it.
I
And that's all we
pretty
got
much
stuff on.
studied it by heart
Yeah,
now.
so, anyway, that's some of the thinking that will go on, but if you've got ideas, bring them in, suggest them, if you wanna email them to the planning commission members beforehand, by all means, but we have to have a public hearing in order to officially start the discussion for this body, for the 7 of us to actually talk on it and draft up something together.
Well, like you guys mentioned, you can come to each meeting, the board meeting and the planning commission meeting and also have input. I mean, at least, we're gonna listen to what you guys have to say. Now, is it gonna happen? I can't say that, I can't speak for everybody, but we definitely will listen, and if we think it's a good idea, I've seen stuff change, so for sure. It's a good
So I
idea.
know there's limits on when you guys can meet and discuss because it has to be public. Yeah, are you, during this month and a half, are you going to be working up your own ideas?
I already read about it all the time, just like Celine, like what he was mentioning.
Because that's something.
One of the things that also, that you didn't mention that lawsuit also was because they didn't have an ordinance in place, that they didn't have nowhere that they could do it, and since they didn't, it allowed them to do what happened, and that's why it's allowed to be on ag. So the judge says, you can put it on industrial or ag now, because basically because they weren't ready for it, it already got started, they messed up numerous times in the process, so that's kind of what happened. Now, is it gonna stop? I have no idea, but yeah, that was part of it, not having an ordinance and kind of getting stuck down the 8 ball. So right now, by having a moratorium, that won't happen to us, taking, a little bit longer, like Doug said, to make sure that we're meeting all these deadlines.
I work for a bank, I know all
I know
about
you guys
it.
want stuff done right away, but that's probably not gonna happen. The solar took 3 years. I mean, I don't expect this to take that long, cause now we understood why it took so long then, but.
In the solar ordinance, because it's been reviewed by the township attorney, by the township engineer, we had all the definitions, and there are only a handful of definitions we need to add to our ordinance to incorporate for the data centers, but a number of things, because a number of the data centers, they're gonna be putting solar over their carports, they're gonna put solar on the roof, different things, because they're gonna look for the carbon credits and any other way that they can cut their energy costs or to appeal to the neighbors and the communities and municipalities that they're in.
And we also have substations, which
Yeah.
they would have to have that also.
Yes,
So
that's.
there's a lot of things that are tied together.
Because you're gonna use a whole lot of electricity, you gotta be close to transmission lines and how it's getting there, and that you want it buried, all that kind of stuff. But
It's,
So one question that I have, which I have no idea, and I know it was kind of mentioned a little bit at the board, is a committee, a legal committee, can you have non-residents and residents, or does it have to just be township residents to create a committee?
it depends on what the responsibility is, like we have, an example, we have the area fire department, where we have 2 representatives from London Township, from Milan Township, the city of Milan, and part of York Township. They're all together, and that would be considered community, but all of them are working on the budgets for that area fire department, which they then bring back to the respective boards, because then they have to approve it, because it's a financial expenditure. So the board members have, as a whole, has to approve the entire budget. That's why there's 2 for the equal votes for, going through the jurisdiction. I know there's been some discussion about the.
So what I was kind of
operating
getting at
agreement there.
is they're trying to create a committee, and I know you probably mentioned, in each township, kind of in our area, that is also working on this too, so they kind of could bounce ideas back and forth to try to come up with the best solution, and, instead of us just kind of just.
typically, a committee does not have any authority, it's strictly an advisory role.
Yeah,
Yeah, I just wanna make sure, I mean, with this particular subject, other than that, I mean, most of the time nobody's gonna challenge something, but if for some reason, if they're trying, I just wanna make sure it's, that's.
Well, to put in perspective, like the two of you and 10 other people could get together in your kitchen and talk about your ideas and that.
Right.
There's nothing prevents you to do that and then bring those to the board. There's nothing prevents that.
Yeah, no, I understand.
You don't necessarily have to have the township create that committee to advise you. But on the same note, some people will create a Parks and Rec committee that, gee, we need a park in the community. Gee, what would you want in a park in the community? And sometimes that's something that the board will do to let some people, sometimes they do that to pacify people too. You don't want to get in that situation. So there's just lots of different ways that you can be creative, but if you got ideas, and read up, there's 61 data centers in the state. I read something that said there were 70, but I think they're wrong, but it's 61. We got 2 in Monroe, you got 5 in Ann Arbor, you got 30 in the Detroit area, and they're growing because every time you picked up to snap the picture on your phone, that's another gigabyte that's showing up somewhere and it's gotta be stored. It's not in there.
I've read a lot of crazy things, and one of them is actually, the 49ers are actually doing data to try to figure out, they're believing a lot of their players are getting injured and having medical issues because they are training and they live right next to a data center.
No,
That's a fact. I'm
That-
not saying they're going
that's
to
too
win
many-
You're
this.
always gonna have
That's-
people with a few
Well,
twists.
I'm just saying.
There's thinking you're gonna do heart surgery at the U of M.
You got that much money though, I mean, they're gonna find out, I would say.
No.
I don't think that owner's hurting for money.
So, anyway, with that, any other public comment?
So what you're saying is that if we decide to get together and have conversations so that we can have some cohesive suggestions to bring to the meetings, that the board doesn't need to approve anything.
No, if that's you as the public.
Just citizens, so.
Cause that's odd, cause
If-
Dundee is requiring it,
Requiring what?
board approval of
No,
the committee,
we-
which
we
is why
don't-
I.
we don't
probably
need to.
won't be
That's why I was
Yeah.
kinda asking this, because I don't know, if you're just doing it as a resident, or just, not even necessarily as a resident, just as a citizen, I mean, you guys can come to the meeting, just like you said. I just didn't know what, I just don't want, I just figured I'd ask, but I don't think that we have to create a committee, I'm not sure. I think that you guys could just, like a couple of you guys, talk to a couple of them, and you guys just come to each one and say, hey, this is what they're doing over there, and this is what they're doing over there, and you guys kind of make your own thing. As long as you come in, you still could talk. I mean, I guess can a committee have like their own time, maybe? Is that the difference? Does that
No,
really make a difference?
you have a planning commission meeting, you have a schedule. Like, let's say somebody's coming in, that they're coming in for a permit or something, or they're coming in for some portion of the meeting, you can put it on the agenda. Due to the fact that we're already gonna have data center on the agenda, they can make comments at the beginning of the meeting, and comments at the end of the meeting. And if they want, if you've got something written up, submit it in advance. That way we've got it, or that we have a little bit of an idea, but that way you share at the beginning and at the end. You do not want to take on the jurisdiction or ordaining a committee, because then that could also violate some other.
That's what I was getting.
That's
That's what I was getting at, but they were talking about creating it, that's why.
They can do whatever they want in their kitchen, in their home, whether they do it in their garage. They can talk, people can get together and talk. We can't, because we're bound by the Public Meeting Act.
You guys want that legal separation anyways, from a liability perspective.
Oh, yeah, no, I just know you guys were talking about creating the committees, and I know you guys, I didn't know if you were gonna mention to the board or whatever, but I know that they've been here for a long time, and I wanted to hear their advice on that,
It would be to our advantage though, if you would physically document that, so there's not confusion between, somebody trying to take the minutes versus, the information you're giving to us, so. That way, we can reference back and if it's documented, like I've done with the ordinances, I went back a lot of ways to try and straighten it out in my mind to help straighten it out hopefully with the township, so. I'm getting old, I don't always remember.
You don't have to be old to quit remembering.
But anyway, it would be to our advantage if you feel comfortable about something specific, you can document it You don't have to go on for hours and hours and hours, just give us some insight on maybe direction, so.
So we can have longer written comments and just give a, like an executive overview at the meeting.
Mm-hmm.
We can always come back and ask you easier than we can try and remember.
Any other public comment? Then we'll move into commissioner comment. Pleasure.
I think I spent enough time.
I wanna thank you guys for coming here and trying to, make sure you guys take the time out of your day to come up here and keep us informed. I would suggest that the whole process, if you can.
I'll say I want to appreciate you as well and the board for listening to the citizens. I know it's a big responsibility. I'm on the board of a nonprofit, so I totally relate to the hidden hours and effort it takes, so thank you.
And the next meeting is March 2nd here at the hall. I will not be in attendance because I've got another commitment that night. But Dan has assured me he will be here. With that, the next meeting is March 2nd, and then the public hearing is March 16th. Is there a motion?
I'll make a motion to adjourn at 8:19.
Is there support?
House board.
When properly moved and supported, it is not debatable, not dependable. All those in favor, say aye.
Aye, girl.
Opposed, nay.